bum bum boom, skooty boop boop, pop ba da boom 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 boom. Hey, how are we all doing, internet? Welcome again to another edition of Smirky Inside, where I'll be joined by a special guest today. Our topic, if you saw it, is how to make a computer act like a jerk, which we have done with our Cutthroat Caverns app. Thanks to the help of Cellbloc Studios. So before I get into that, I'm actually going to give you a little taste of what that app is about. So let's see if I can get this video to work. There we go. I love that trailer.
Tear in my eye. It's like that was such an adventurous time building that thing. Oh man.
Well, so welcome, James. Say hello to everybody.
Hi, everybody.
So James, as I mentioned, is the owner of Cellbloc Studios. They were the team behind Larry Elmore's Snarf Quest Tales, Legends of Draxia, and of course, most importantly, for the purpose of this conversation, Cutthroat Caverns, the app. So we're going to be talking a lot about what went into the development, some of the challenges. If you've got questions, go ahead and get them ready. You can enter them into the chat. We will see them, and we'll make sure they get answered. So first of all, hope people are watching, and go ahead and sign off. Just let us know you're there. Meanwhile, yes, for those of you who may not know Cutthroat Caverns super well, let me just grab some other stuff over here. All right, so Cutthroat Caverns is, I have to get over this screen to make this look official. Hold on a second. There we go. Okay. So Cutthroat Caverns is a game that we came out with, in like 2007. But it has remained one of our most popular titles. And we finally were able to get an app version of the game done. Wonderfully enough, this was actually recognized by the Origins Award last year, though it kind of got buried because COVID happened and there wasn't a whole lot of talk about the Origins Awards, as it turned out. But we were delighted and honored to be nominated for Best App. But Cutthroat Caverns, of course, is it's a semi-cooperative game of kill stealing in a dungeon, where you are just backstabbing each other, trying to get the most prestige, and trying not to die. Very accurately, it says right on the box, without teamwork, you are never going to survive. And without betrayal, you're never going to win. I see we got a couple of viewers out there already. Hey, Heather. Hey there, CJ. I see you smirking in the shadows. Well done. So let me now switch this up a little bit. James. So, hey, again, thank you for being here. This is this is a delight. I absolutely loved working with you on this project, as crazy as it was. So I wanted to get into like how we first started talking about this, and if memory serves, you kind of hunted me down a little bit.
That's right. I did stalk you down. So what happens is I play with a group of friends. We play Dungeons and Dragons as well as we play Pathfinder, and it's just one of those. I was in a store and I looked around for other modules or material, and I happened to see this box called Cutthroat Caverns, and I like the medieval genre, and the picture drew me to. I was like, this just seems like it's this Cutthroat Caverns. I just like that name. There was something about the art of the original box. This is before the anniversary edition, and I was like, this is fun. So sometimes, we since we play Dungeons and Dragons and Pathfinder all the time, we decided to play a board game, and we played this game, and it was just like our own personalities came out. So within like the first a round or two, me and another guy, that's it. We screw everyone else. We were going to try and kill each other. One of us was going to kill each other. Okay, it doesn't matter what card I had. I'm going to make sure that he gets hurt, and he did the same back to me. And of course, we lost, but that was part of the fun of it, because that's exactly how we play in our role-playing games. We play the same characters over and over and over again, where we're just always we're really good friends in real life. So, so I work for a guy named Larry Elmore, and I usually go to his conventions in Gen Con and Dragon Con. And I just happened to see Cutthroat Caverns. They have a booth. So I went over there, and I got to escape the booth at Gen Con at Larry's booth, and I went over there and says, yeah, I'm looking for the owner. And Curt was, he was giving demonstrations, and he was like, well, I'm the owner. I says, I'd like to talk to you about Cutthroat Caverns. And he goes, what about it? I was like, well, I'd like to go ahead and, Cellbloc Studios has been around for a while. And one of the things I just decided over my course of my career was I was always doing these projects for other people. And then at some point about 5 years ago, I said, you know what? We're not going to take on any projects. I want to go hunt things out that I want to work on. Instead of getting websites and all this other nonsense work, I build it for people, but it's not like a passion of mine. So no, screw this. We're going to go find clients that we liked, and we really like Cutthroat Caverns. So I hunted Curt out, and we sat down, and he's like, I'm going to tell you a little thing. This has been tried not once, not twice, but 3 times, and they all failed. Are you sure you want to do this? And I'm like, look, I've had a lot of, I've built a lot of games, and I really think I could do this. He's like, it gets because his background with this. And he's like, do you understand what's involved in this? I go, but it's a passion game. My friends and I enjoy it. I think we can do a great job at this. So yeah, that's how it started. And then after the convention, you have to wind down. We got emails back and forth, and we started putting together our AI paths of how we're going to have this work. But before we go too far into that, it was just one of those, I know I can do this. And I was positive I could do it. I never had any doubt that I would be able to do this. And, building up a rapport with Curt, because some stranger, basically, he probably got hundreds of people asking him, hey, could you publish my game? Can you do this? And I'm like, this is something I really want to do. Yeah. And he had faith in us, and we started working on it. So,
well, so I tell you, you're absolutely right, because I certainly had plenty of half starts on this game. And a lot of that was because the game just has inherent challenges when bringing it to a digital space. And the first of which that turned, I would say, that killed most of the early attempts was it's not really creating a single game app. Now obviously, like any app, you're going to be able to select your avatar and its difficulty and a game length, which we created 3 different, game lengths, and, you could set up your own encounters and things, but that really wasn't the hard part. The hard part was the fact that there are 27 encounters, and unlike other games, they are not cookie cutters of each other. They require separate programming, because one creature acts extremely different than another creature. It's not just how much life they have, but it's how they attack. And therefore, how they attack impacts, well, how are we going to be cooperating? Do we need to cooperate? Is this one where we're all, going to die if we don't? Necromancer is a great example. Medusa, like some of these things were just so crazy. But now, then we have a creature like Hate, where Hate gets powered up based on the actions that you take. You each are asked, well, okay, it's going to have life points equal to the total attack value of cards that you all discard. it could go away if you all discard zeros, and you don't have to fight it. But you get first swing if you're the highest card. Which, well, that's great, because if it's weak and I get the first swing, I get to kill it and get all kinds of crazy points. But of course, if we power this thing up and it's got 100 life points and 100, then it swings for the same amount of its health. Yeah. So you could die in one shot. But now all of that, of course, creates a whole new way to like build the back end of the app. It doesn't behave like other encounters. So what was that like?
It was challenging. So basically, each creature has its own mechanics, and so it had to be its own essentially mini game. And when we started building it, we quickly realized that. It's like when we were sitting there looking at just going, it's not just play a card, defeat the monster, gather loot, recycle. There's a lot more into that. So each as we just talked about with hate, how he can get life points based upon who you discard. Okay. No other character does that. So there's all these different flowcharts we had to build. And one of the other things that we're Boogans, don't do clockwork. Please don't show clockwork. Boogans is another one where, as you see right there on the screen, so Boogans has, we'll just say minions for this discussion. So each of these points over here says 30, 30, 30. So they actually spawn more versions. So now you're attacking those. Okay, it's like, okay, the game keeps getting bigger and bigger, but mainly the bigger and bigger part of it is we're still dealing with an individual encounters. We had all these different arrays for the different encounters and how many points they have. But the biggest challenge we had, besides having all these different encounters to take care of, is the actual table space. We wanted to play this on a mobile device. We didn't want to put it onto a PC because we wanted people to be able to play with it in their hand. So the iPhone and Android devices have a very small resolution. Well, now we keep making this bigger and bigger, having more different cards to be able to select on, but we don't want to confuse people to having like different tabs to be looking at. So we kept trying to force all these things into a smaller profile and still making sure that an average size finger can still click on these things.
Right. And if I recall, the Boogans was one of the bigger challenges in terms of screen space because...
And the wolf, yeah.
And the wolf, because all the token creatures had to fill the space so you could select them and then still have your heads up for all your cards and the lead monster. I mean, it really just ate up a bunch of space.
Yes, and we say every time we Curt was providing the art, it's like, can you make this a little smaller, or can you clean this up a little bit? Because we went through design after design of these layouts, and we felt the Foursquare formula of having everybody in the corner was the better way to do this. But we wanted to portray, well, Curt really wanted to push portraying feelings, and we're like, it's a game. Granted, when we played the game, I mean, me and my friend that were cutthroating each other, we would say comments and things back and forth, but it's all in jest. I mean, it's all in fun. We're good friends.
Well, sure, but that doesn't mean you're not shaking your fist and cursing their name. And
I may or may not have thrown a bottle at him, but that's a whole different story. Okay, but we want to have that excitement, that cutthroatness, and Curt's like, I really want to be able to show emotion. I'm like,
right, see the characters and how they react, right?
Yeah. And see the characters, and I'm like, well, we can't just redraw all these characters. He's like, I got an idea. We're good. So he came up with this wonderful idea. Do you have the screenshot for changing of the emotes?
Well, so I hold on a second, because before we even get there, like just as another example of like how we like completely threw another wrench in, like so far we're still attacking monsters and things, but then I'd throw like something crazy like the trap room, which I mean, there's one that's almost like like a memory game. This one is just all your hand gets completely thrown into the center, and then you just draw cards until you set off one of these 3 traps at the bottom of the screen. Now all of these encounters are actually in the core game, which is why they had to port into this environment. It's just that when we created all these various things, we weren't really thinking about streamlining for, a logic problem. It was really just, we wanted things to feel fresh and different all the time. And unfortunately, yeah, that meant 27 mini games.
Yes.
So interestingly, that wasn't even a blink of an eye. Like that's what did in most of the other developers, was realizing it was 27 mini games, not just one game. But then, yes, as then you point out further, this was not our only challenge. The next challenge was, this is a game that was designed to make use of player interaction.
Yes.
And of course, it's a game that has a lot of interrupts.
Yeah.
Constantly. And then there's lag time. And can we actually create a game where people could play live and have a satisfying experience without having to wait eternities for people to actually, say, okay, go ahead, you can now swing.
Well, yeah, that was one of the challenging parts. So one of the other major questions we get asked about with Cutthroat Caverns is multiplayer. It's like, well, okay, we can code multiplayer. We've done it before. Curt has another game that we can talk about at some point that actually has a multiplayer aspect to it. It's like a one-on-one player game. And when we were talking about Cutthroat, it's like, well, the biggest problem we had was, so when you're playing Dungeons & Dragons or Pathfinder, you have your turn, and then you have to sit and wait. The problem is, you're at the table and you can yell at somebody. It's like, hey, such and such, pay attention, it's your turn. But if you're doing multiplayer, how do we have a timeout? Do we have some kind of timer where you have to do your move within 10 seconds? Because otherwise, people are waiting. Maybe you answered your phone. Maybe there's a FedEx package at the door. FedEx, see how I did that? So if you may have an interrupt in your real life, and people are waiting on you to do a turn. So it's kind of like, when or how do we move the game forwards when one of the players is no longer responding to the game itself? Now, we had some ideas, but for this first initial version, we decided we'll just go ahead and build AIs. Okay, so now we have to simulate players and what they will do. I mean, it's not pre-coded. We have to create all these different types. And that's where Curt came up with these different types of AIs and how we had to have them follow.
Right. So this is kind of the part where I knew what I wanted, but I didn't know how to get there. And then James and Walter were actually able to figure out how to code what I was really striving for. So once we decided, okay, it's got to be AIs, it's got to be a solo game experience, but it still has to feel like I'm playing humans. Otherwise, this game isn't going to work. If I don't feel like I'm being attacked and I'm angry at these little avatars, it's just not going to feel like Cutthroat Caverns. Yeah. So so the simple part was, we would have little cut scenes, maybe, so I would, have a bunch of different art created for, like, slight annoyance or a little bit of a superior giggle, like, as they do something terrible to you, or outrage, but, some of those kind of visual cues like we see here, help underscore some really pivotal plays. Like if I force you to take 25 points of damage instead of me, I want to feel that outrage coming from your character. And of course, if you're not there and it's just an AI, well, I guess it's one thing if we can support it with sound effects and with some visual cues, we can kind of get you there. Mm-hmm. But the real trick was how to get the computer to behave like a jerk. How could we get them to behave like the players I have sat across from for thousands of games over the course of this? And now, happily, I had that depth of experience, right? I have done this demo for people, I can't tell you how many times. But as unique as each play is, people tend to fall into different play styles, things, the expected behaviors, and I'll see like the archetype. There was one player who was like, well, I don't want to ruffle any feathers. I don't want to do terrible things, but I have to, so I'm going to spread it all out. Or someone is like, hey, you come for me, I am coming for you. This is a tit for tat situation. Some people are just like, I don't care what it is. I'm swinging hard. I'm going, we just need to live. And there's all kinds of different people. There's even just like the pure grudge player. Like when when my friend Justin and I play, it doesn't matter who else is at the table. He is gunning for me. He wants me dead. Even if he throws the game for himself, he just wants me dead. So all of those are great archetypes. And I was able to write down for James and the team, like, okay, well, here are the types of people. Right. Here's how people react in this game. Now, I can tell you how people use these various cards. But I don't know the first thing about creating AIs and how their logic would work. So maybe you can tell us a little bit about that. Now, while you're starting, I'm going to go over here and get a new visual up.
Okay. So one of the things we had to figure out is so I was like, okay, listening to Curt, listening to how he was portraying people and how they play. It's like, okay, how do we put this into a system without cheating? We actually designed the system not to peek at the player's cards, okay? Because it's not like, let's just say if I have two 100s,
right.
We don't want the computer looking to see it has two 100s and kind of guessing what I'm going to play, or even looking at the card I put down. That was one of the big things, because we felt that was cheating. We felt that was laying over things. But at the same time, we wanted them to feel like, okay, if you're a very cautious person, or if you're a very vengeful person, or if you're a helpful or cruel. These names are coming back to me.
Yeah.
Now, it's funny because we had to test this game a lot, okay, especially different AI types. And sometimes Curt would say, hey, the double strike isn't working. And that was like the bane of our existence, the double strike card. Because with double strike, it's when you can put like a double strike on top of a double strike on top of a double strike. And it's like, and we had to realize, well, how many double strikes are there in the deck? And we had to go figure that out. It's like, okay, what is the max possibility of this tree system? But to talk about the AI.
And actually, I'm just going to say hey to Brad and Holly, who just joined us. Brad is talking. He says, "Ha! Open the pod bay doors." I'm sorry, Dave. I can't do that. Yeah, that is exactly what this AI system was all about. And as you can see, like, we actually listed out classes of player attributes. Mm-hmm. But what I thought was really ingenious about your system was it's not that like one of these characters is the helpful character, right?
Right.
It's not like, they're not going to do other things at other times. It's that all of these things exist in all of the AI characters, but they're scaled to be more of some and less of another.
Yes. Otherwise, if you had it set for just one, then you can quickly figure out who that character is, and you'll know, oh, there's a huge possibility helpful is going to give me a potion. Okay, so you can figure things like that out. But when you have all the, we all of us in theory represent all those AIs at one time. Now, depending if you get a phone call about your extended car warranty, or AT&T trying to give you a service, you may change from you're helpful today to all of a sudden vengeful, and you just wanted to start killing people. And that's how your day goes by. So we started coming up with the different archetypes, and not archetypes, the types of the AI, and that's what Curt has noticed over his times giving demonstrations. And then we says, okay, so how are we going to break this up into our different characters that we currently have? So as you see there, we kind of put it in order of what they kind of are.
Right. And what I thought was interesting too, again, because we're talking about trying to simulate human behavior and emotional behavior, emotional reactions. Sometimes people just react in unexpected ways. So at the very end of the list, there is a chaotic factor with a random play. And sometimes you'll see a card come out that, it's like, where did this come from? But honestly, people will do that at the table. That you're just like, why are you playing that?
Yeah.
This is and it's down at the bottom of the list, so it's not the first consideration. It's not like the highest percentage of actions will be chaotic, but there's that little tiny X factor that helps it feel like it's unexpected. It's human, not programmed. And I think that's a little bit of brilliance in there.
It was fun, and one of the things was when we were play testing this. I have a certain way I play against the computer. And one of the things I was doing literally every night, so we make a build, and then I download it, and then I would have to play 3 encounters 3 times without no hiccups. Okay? Yeah. I'm constantly having to record the screen so we can find out what happened to build us up there, because everything is based upon the next card. And even sometimes when you move from encounter to encounter, let's just say you have something that carries over to the next encounter, like your loot cards, or someone dies and you have to pick the loot. We had to make sure that, okay, after hate, maybe something was in effect that when the next encounter started, that was still there by accident. Okay, and it's like, well, why did he just hit for 200? It's like Gasbag hit for 200. It's like, why is he hitting at all? And it's because hate had 200 hit at the time. It's like, oh, okay. So we had to do a lot of videoing of all our gameplays, and finally, there was something Curt was talking about, and I was like, well, let's play. So I put on my screen and I screen shared, and as I'm playing a card, Curt's like, why would you do that? I says, because I win. And he's like, that's how I would play. And that's correct. That is not how he would play. I play completely and utterly different. Curt's more cautious and he keeps his hundreds, or I'm throwing out every big card at the beginning just to beat them down, and then use my strategy cards to try to win the actual hit.
Right.
And Curt's basically almost the opposite.
Almost the opposite. That's right.
The opposite. And my play style works well for what I do. And I will be screaming at some of these characters, and they're not characters. This is the computer controlled character. And I'm like, why did you do that? You want to lose the... Oh, okay. I realized, oh, yeah, we programmed it that way.
Well, and so, like I said, I mean, it was one thing to actually kind of talk high level about some of this, but eventually this had to make it into code.
Yes, we had to put it into something that... we're talking right now, and we're saying pretty words, and we're saying words, but we need to actually have it in tangible diagrams so we can follow the path. Like if you see a green light, you're supposed to stop. I'm sorry. You see a red light, you stop, or you see a green light, you go. So now we had to say, okay, give me the conditions that take place in order to move this through. And here is one of the ones for
this. This is the generic attack card selection, which, I mean, this is what fries my mind, and I'm going to actually zoom in on this so you guys can all appreciate the craziness that is involved here and the genius of how these guys approached this. So now, mind you, there is one of these for every single card class, especially like all the interrupt cards. There's a separate chart for most of them. So I'm going to just zoom in here. There we go. Okay. So, all right, cool. So monster comes out, we start the process, and you are asked to set an attack card.
Yes.
Now, the first thing that has to happen is we have to check whether or not it's the gas bag that you don't want to kill. Hey, Cameron, welcome. Good to see you. And yes, this is like the Matrix at this point. All right, so now we go down to here. Is defeating this encounter going to handicap you next round? Well, let's say no, that's not going to be a thing, so it's probably not gas bag. Okay, would defeating the encounter cause a player to lose? Well, there are creatures that, given what happens when you hit them, could do that. So let's again assume no. All right. Can a player set enough damage? Along with Rider and other action cards, can they defeat the encounter? Okay, let's say no. They're not convinced. All right. Could someone else defeat the encounter this round? And that's give or take about what, 130? How is that dropped on there?
That was through play testing to find out what is the average, and if it's less than 130 life points, then that's when you would make the determination. And that was the number we fluctuated a lot. So
okay, all right. Again, let's assume that I'm not worried that you're going to kill it this turn. All right, so that means that players has no chance to kill it before my next turn. Oh, but will damage in the encounter cause a player to lose? That's interesting. So at that point, I might have to find out, can a player set attack that will not inflict damage? Or maybe it's just no, and I go out here. Oh, see, now it wants to know what player I am.
right.
So if I'm ambitious, vengeful, or cruel, there's a whole nother set of things. But if I'm not, okay, then
all the way down.
All the way down. Well, then I'm going to set my attack card and attack. Right? Cool.
Yep, yeah, that's the card.
Right. But so now
you got all these little bugaboos and everything else, these little special cases that we had to do. And this happens per each character. I mean, whether, the three people and you, as in the person playing, in theory, are doing this flowchart in your head.
Right. Right. These are the things that you actually think about without even knowing it. Because, and of course, sometimes it's like, well, what kind of encounter are we? Are there going to be tokens that are going to remain? Is this bugaboo and it's going to come back if we don't swing hard enough? I mean, there's all kinds of stuff that happens. And, I might even decide, yeah, I'm going to set the feint. So this flowchart is crazy.
Many.
one of many for every single card in the game. And it was funny because we would sit and we'd go through these, and I would say, okay, but what about the rally card? Now, rally, I can't add it. It's plus 20 points on to an attack, but not my attack, someone else's attack. Now, I might use that so that I could make the creature weaker so I could kill it. I might do it so that the player over there ends up swinging the hardest and therefore draws the attack of the creature, which otherwise might hurt me or kill me, or it may definitely kill them. So those are the kind of things that you think about playing Rally. But now you have to make the AI think about those things. And depending on what personality type they are, if they can kill someone with a Rally card, and they're programmed to be that kind of cruel, well, the chances go way up of them playing that card in that situation.
And it also, those AI also takes into effect, I mean, even though it doesn't look at the other cards, it does take the initiative value of where they're at on the line. So if they know they're number 3, okay, they may want to play the rally card on the person before them, so they can go ahead and kill the character. But it's little things like that they basically play as much as we can like actually human beings. So
now, are there? I mean, we've been talking a while. Not too many questions out there, but if you have any questions for us about how some of these things came to life, what kind of decisions we had to make on behalf of those AIs, let us know, because this was. How long did this process take us? I am trying to recall.
The AI portion of it?
Yeah.
That was, obviously it was months, because we kept building the AI, and then it'd be like, why am I swinging at 100 points a gas bag? And I'm like, what are you talking about? It's like, well, remember, you're not supposed to kill a gas bag. I was like, that's a good point. And then that's why we throw things in there. And then we make another build, and then you come back. Why aren't you killing the tokens with the what was it? Why aren't you killing the tokens to get rid of the bugaboo? It's like, oh, so that's why you see all these little red parts, and those were basically things where Curt says, hey, you may have forgotten about this, and it was like, oh yeah, we did.
Right, because there's one character type that, for example, wants to swing as hard as possible all the time to kill the creatures, and therefore he would blow gas bag up on himself for no reason. And we're like, well, that's not in the spirit of the game. I said, guys, we can't have that. So all of a sudden, it built in another logic step. Is this going to hurt you? By swinging that hard? So.
And there was a lot of condition checks for every single card. And then when you start getting things like double strike, and you have double strike and double strike, so when you double strike, you actually get to play 2 attack cards, which is really nice. But one of those attack cards can be another double strike. So now you have another tree.
Yeah.
And then while you're doing that, so let's just say you have a double strike with, I don't know, 100 and another double strike. And then come down here, and then you have 100 and another double strike. Yeah, I'm saying it so far. Yeah, then we go to again, and you have a 20 and a, I don't know, a 10. Okay, now while that's being resolved, so you resolve the first double strike, somebody can throw in an interrupt halfway through that. Okay, and it's like, okay, we're going to stop you right there because they want to stop so they can get the killing blow. It's like, wait, what? So, and we had to make sure all the AIs had that intelligence to know when to play these interrupts. The interrupts was probably the most difficult thing. Knowing when to play an interrupt was probably the biggest thing, because otherwise, when we first did it, it worked, but it didn't seem like a real person would be playing the interrupt at that appropriate time. It's like, why are you playing my hero at when no one got hit or something like that? Or there was no damages. It doesn't make any sense. So we've had to go back and forth through that quite a few times to get it so it felt like actual players. And one of the things Curt, besides believing in us that we can build it, he wanted to have that emotional attachment to the players where like, I will throw a bottle at you if I don't like you. And I can't do that at my phone, but I have screamed at my phone many times while testing it, going, I'm so close. I'm like, I got it. And then, that's right.
Yep. And they absolutely snake it from you, or they send a whole bunch of damage into your face. Yeah, all kinds of terrible things. Oh, CJ's got a great question. So CJ, you're asking, are there encounters that you would want to make for the app that wouldn't work on the tabletop?
I think we did all the encounters. I don't think we ever pulled out any encounters. In fact, we added one.
Well, we did add one, but it's one that's actually in the physical card game in the anniversary edition. I guess the question that CJ has is, are there cool things that we could do in an app environment that would be much harder to do in the physical world? I don't know that we didn't look at that. I think our mission 1 was to create the game as faithfully as we could, but it's something to really think about, quite honestly. I'd be excited to think about that.
Yeah, we definitely wanted to, because, I fell in love with the game playing it as I played it, like whether it's a trap room and dropping all the cards and shuffling them around and picking up the cards. And that's why you saw in the screenshot, it looks like the cards are dropped. And we use physics to actually drop the cards and then have to make sure that all the cards are visible. Okay, so, that's why you drop it, and it's a different algorithm. It's a different layout every single time you play it, because it's using randomness to it. We have to make sure no cards are stacked on top of each other that you can't actually click on it. Mm-hmm. And they have to make sure there's always enough space for you to actually click on it with your finger. That was one. The memory game was one. Bugaboos. I'm trying to think of anything that
I think you're right. Honestly, I think CJ, the challenge wasn't necessarily like, can we create things that we couldn't do live on the table? It was more like, I created a lot of crazy ass stuff on the table, and it's like it through the design process for the app, up on its ear. But I'm actually going to start thinking about what we might be able to do. That's kind of neat. Now, as I mentioned, the game has been out there. It got a nomination for for an award, which has been terrific. And as I mentioned, it is a solo experience, and it's on both the App Store and Google Play. What's that?
So currently, yeah.
Oh, that's true. Well, I mean, if we could figure out a way to do it live, I think that'd be even more fabulous. But I'm still concerned about the interrupts in that scenario.
Yeah. Go ahead.
And I was going to say, but I think we are going to want to start adding some of our favorites from other expansions at some point. But right now there is plenty of game. But actually, this gets me to one of the things I teased last week about a special offer. So when we were talking about getting together and doing this broadcast and talking about some of the fun challenges we had creating this thing, I was like, what, we should actually have like some kind of a promotion to get more people interested in playing the game.
Right.
And James said, yeah, let's do it 1 week away from now, because we're just about to launch the free version.
So right now, one of the things that Curt and I, when we were talking about building the game, is we didn't want to have ads originally. Okay, we thought that broke away from the gameplay, and it always felt cheap. And I mean, I've been building apps for a long time, and I hate having to have ads, Facebook login. It's like, what? I just want to play the game. I want to enjoy myself, because it's a single player experience. So we put a price on it, and we put it out on the store, and it is doing well. And we realized, okay, there are some people, especially with COVID now and everything, that may not have funds for it. That's like, okay, we really didn't want to put ads, but we were able to figure out a way to get it out so it's going to be free. Now, right now, it's still stuck in Google Play review process. Usually Google Play was able to review a game in about 3 hours. You were able to publish it. It was wonderful. Where Apple took like 3 to 5 days. Now, I can't believe I'm saying this, Apple can get it done in about a day, and Google's taken about 7 days. So we're almost there for releasing the free version of Cutthroat Caverns. Now, the free version has a little bit of ads. We don't want to do it every encounter. It's like 1 or 2 ads that you see total. And we have in-app purchasing for you to actually get more encounters. You're limited on the number of encounters at the beginning. So free? Yes, that's right. It is free.
Yeah. So some of the like in the full version, there are like 27 different encounter types, and the free version it's a more of a limited pool, right?
It's a limited pool, and you can do in-app purchasing, and we kept it so the in-app purchasing, as if you had purchased all the encounter packs, okay, will be the same price as the full version. So we're not trying to overcharge or anything for the in-app purchasing. But this has been a game of love, and I still play it, not every day, but I do play it at least once or twice a month. And I love watching the trailer and listening to the music and everything. It's like, wow, that came out really, really good. Yeah. And it's been an absolute pleasure getting to work with and talk with Curt all the time. So there are other games that are coming out from Smirk and Laughter that will be coming soon to you, which is a multiplayer game. And the engine that we're using for building the multiplayer game for this game, it's a 2-player game. Yeah.
They already know what it is, I'm sure. Oh, okay. They figured it out.
Okay. So, well, you can say it. I'm not going to say it.
So here's the thing. We are going to be bringing Shobu to the app space as well. And I think that's going to be a great one for people. That one will have live players. So that'll be fun. But I think what's really interesting about this freemium version of Cutthroat is it's going to allow a lot of people who maybe were like, I've heard about Cutthroat Caverns, but I don't know. Now you can try it, and if you love it, great. You know that there's a whole bunch more in the full, more robust version of the app. So it lets you get your feet wet and play with it a little bit before committing. People who already know the game, jump on in and
Curt down and say, I want to make a game of this.
Yeah. Dickie is asking if it's available on TTS. It is not. Or at least it's not that I'm aware of. It could be that someone has a build out there that is unofficial, but Smirk and Dagger does not have anything on TTS. So if you want to play it digitally, and especially if you're looking to do this as a solo opportunity, this is the way. And what I love, and I think what gets me most excited about this app and what you've actually achieved, it really does feel like I'm playing a group of people at the table. And that, I think, is the greatest compliment I can give to the game. I still want to curse the characters across from me. I'm still like expecting them to do things because I think I'm reading into how they're playing. Like, I'm using the same processes as I'm playing as though I have live opponents. And yet it still feels just as emotionally driven as I want that game experience to be for people. I don't know exactly what ended up putting us in consideration for the Origins Award, but I very much doubt that anyone on the board fully understood what kind of achievement this app truly is.
It is a one-to-one, the game. It's not like we added features or took away features. It is a, exact replica of the game as much as it's possible. I mean, all the card art. I mean, it's as if you were playing it with friends.
Yeah.
No, not on TTS, but when we were building it, we had a Mac version and a PC version because it was just easier to instead of making IPAs and APK builds all the time. So we can put it on Steam, and I've got interest on the Nintendo Switch to put it out there too. It's just, it's not something we really want to pursue. But otherwise, probably when we get more content in, when we do the expansion packs, which is something we want to look forward to, using the core system where we have, you're making sure there's no other and any kind of issues, of the gameplay. And we haven't had, I got support tickets, but I haven't had a support ticket. The only support ticket, which I thought was funny, was we had a I'm gonna be generalized with this. We had a person that said, "Hey, I need to have the sound off." Okay, so we had it. So when you set the sound inside the game, that first thing it does is checks, and it wouldn't play the music. And he goes, and then we made a big. He goes, "No, I need the complete sound off." I'm like, "The complete sound off." I'm like, "What other sound?" And he was like, "Well, during the logo, when it shows the Smirk and Dagger and Cellbloc, it goes doom doom." And I was like, okay. And then he sent his email, and the person was a lawyer, and I'm like, so is this guy playing Cutthroat Caverns and during litigation or something like that? That's why he wants to sound completely off. This person wants to sound completely off. I was like, I just thought it was funny that it came from a law firm. And he wanted to sound absolutely off, but he still, I guess, wants the ringer on or something. I just thought that was funny. So we had to do like two builds, one to have, the sound and music, and then the one to make sure the logo doesn't go doom doom when it starts up. So that was a lot of fun. It was. I thought that was hilarious. It was. Yeah. But yeah, we want to build expansion packs for it, and the multiplayer engine that we're working for Shobu, it does work. We're not happy with the friends, how you can do friends right now is through email. We would rather not do social net, plug in like social networking where it grabs all your list of friends. We want it to be kind of homegrown, like it's all members that you have your own specific account. We don't want to be farming, like send us your contact list. We don't want that. We're the opposite of social networking. But we want to make sure the friends list is well enough that you can, I can sit down and say, okay, Curt, I'm here. I'm ready to play. And he'll get a little text message saying, ready to play. He clicked that, logs right in. The same thing with an email. He's like, hey, Sandra's waiting for you to play. You just click the link and all of a sudden you're added in as a friend. So once we're comfortable with that, but the game of Shobu works quite well.
That's cool. Yeah.
And obviously, we're going to be having, as soon as Google gets around to approving us, Curt and I will be posting links to the free version on the Google Play Store as well as the Apple Store.
All right.
So,
sounds good.
Have any questions?
Well, I don't know. Let's see. Oh, good question. Well, so right now we don't have, other than these two, we don't have any other apps currently planned or scheduled. But time will tell. So,
yes. It has been an absolute pleasure working with Curt, and we have a system in place where we can build games. And Curt has sent me a lot of games, and I have played a lot of games with friends. But we always go back to playing Cutthroat Caverns out of all the different games. So, and Shobu, we do play Shobu quite a lot. We never did understand the rope. Right now, we throw it at each other. So when someone does a move that we don't like, we grab it and throw it right in the other person's face. But otherwise, that's what the rope that we're using it for. But yeah.
Cool.
Hi, Fritz.
All right. Well, hey, James, thanks so much for joining me today and walking everyone through some of the challenges and solutions that made this game what it is. I am eternally grateful. It's something that I've wanted out there for a very long time. Just couldn't get it done. And you're right. I didn't believe it was going to be actually possible. And you guys not only pulled it off, you really just knocked it out of the park. And I couldn't be more pleased. So, folks, hopefully you guys can go and check out this game real soon. It's again, it's available for purchase right now, or you can also check out the free version probably in a week or so. So yeah, but in any case, thanks again for watching. Be sure to kind of like or follow on whatever social you're currently on, and we will see you again next week. Thanks so much, everybody.
Bye-bye.